Welcome to PlanStrongerTV. I'm your host, David Holland. On today's program, I'll be joined by Daytona Beach, Florida attorney Paul Rice to discuss some of the important things you need to know if you are facing a divorce. I'll also answer Mary's viewer question about what questions to ask a financial advisor before you hire them. Ready? Let's roll. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A very important topic, not one that's fun to talk about. Ready? Divorce. I'm pleased to bring you, though, Paul Rice, a local attorney who practices in the area of divorce. Paul, welcome to the program.
Thanks, David. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Very good to have you with us. So I understand that you are board certified in divorce?
I am. Been practicing for 33 years, and I'm board certified in divorce. Do that exclusively. And I'm chair of the local Volusia County Bar Association's Family Law section, and I enjoy what I do.
Excellent. Well, we're very glad that you do what you do, and I know that a lot of people over the years have been glad that that's what you focus on. And Paul and I know each other pretty well. He's done some work, and we've had some mutual clients.
We have. Yeah. Dave used to be an expert witness with me, and we worked together on cases successfully, I might add.
Very good. So with your area of focus, you're focused in on the divorce. I know your firm does more than that, but your particular area that you focus on, and you've done this for 3 decades.
33 years.
Wow. So from your vantage point, we want to talk a little bit about some of the big things with divorce. I want to give the viewers an overview and talk about some of the things they should consider or be aware of for divorce. So just to kind of start out, what are some of the big things about divorce that people need to be thinking about?
Okay, well, for example, there's a couple different types of divorce.
Okay.
There's the traditional divorce, which, the parties each lawyer up, so to speak, and go to court and, duke it out, so to speak. And there's a new wave coming to our area, and it's been in effect in some of the bigger cities. It's called collaborative divorce, and I like to call that divorce without court. Okay. So that's one of the things we try to do is try to, suggest to people they try to do it a little more easier manner, and so that there's not as much fighting. That doesn't mean they have
to necessarily get along on everything, but they agree to certain ground rules, and they're able to keep the process maybe from just becoming, like you say, lawyered up, where we get into a long, protracted, big, ugly fight.
Yeah, and collaborative, each party does have their own lawyer, but the lawyers decide on neutral experts to help the parties settle the case. And in the collaborative contract, the lawyers agree that they won't go to court. So the whole point of the process is to settle the case without going to court, which is a great way to do it.
Well, I don't need to tell the viewers. Everybody knows somebody that's gotten divorced, and many of them may have experienced it firsthand. It's a very stressful process for people.
Very much so. There's not only the financial toll, there's the emotional toll.
Yeah, and so part of your job is to help people see they've got options in doing the work. That you have options for how to do this. It's not one way that you get divorced.
Yeah, so when a prospective client comes to my office for what we call the initial consultation, I explain to them that I see myself as a problem solver. So they may have a variety of problems, which we try to call issues, and my job is to spot the issues and give the clients some suggested solutions to their problems. They think it's an intractable situation. What they don't know is I've done it 100 times. I've got some great solutions to their problems. They just have to decide which one works best for their family.
So when they're in the middle of it, somebody's out there thinking about divorce, or they're getting divorced, or they've been divorced, when they are in the middle of that, and this is true with, of course, a lot of parts of life. When you're in the middle of something, it's hard to see where it's going to end up. And you've seen these things play out over the years. What is probably some of the things that people are surprised to see, when they're in the middle of it, that first of all, that it will end, right?
That it will end, yes. Well, unfortunately, one bad surprise for a lot of people is how slow the process goes. You know, they don't understand. They think this is going to be a month or two and it'll be over with.
Right. Sign a couple forms and we're all done.
Sure. And if two people are motivated, see, sometimes you get reasonable people who are motivated to settle the case, and a divorce can be done in a couple of months' time.
Okay.
If there's disagreements over these issues, and it's usually either the children or money, mostly money,
Right.
then the process can take 12 to 18 to 24 months to resolve the case. And I think that's surprises people.
Yeah, that's a long time to be in the middle of that. Now, you practice in Florida, so the laws, this is a state-specific issue or legal process, right?
Correct. Every 50 state, each 50 of the 50 states has their own divorce laws. So it's gonna differ between Florida and Georgia, or Florida and Hawaii. There's no federal divorce laws. So.
And Louisiana is completely different, right?
Yes, exactly. They're based upon the Napoleonic Code.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody's watching this program, well, I guess as a caveat, they need to consider the state they live in, and of course, work with an attorney.
In their
who-
state, in their area, correct.
Not just a friend of a friend that does a good job. It needs to be somebody that is there and can practice in that particular area.
You know, the laws have become so complex.
Yeah.
It's important nowadays that you go to a lawyer that specializes in the area that you need help in.
Yeah.
You know, don't go to a general practitioner and say, hey, by the way, do you do divorce?
Right.
That's a mistake.
Right.
So,
Well, and to be fair, there were some attorneys that will say, yeah, sure, I just need to study up on that a little bit.
yeah, it's like, you know, the family doctor helps someone with a hangnail. They want, now can you do my brain surgery?
Right, yeah, we might want to specialize there.
Yes, exactly.
So what are some of the typical issues in divorce? I know you call it, you have an acronym for it called PEACE.
I do. We have a certain order in which the issues in a divorce case need to be addressed. So the issues in a divorce case and the order in which they need to be disposed of by the court is the acronym PEACE, and that stands for parenting issues, equitable distribution of marital assets and liabilities, alimony, child support, and then the E of the acronym P stands for everything else. So there may be issues regarding attorney's fees, injunctions for protection against domestic violence. You may have partition actions regarding dividing real estate. And then sometimes there's an action for a tort. If one of the spouses is injured, the other spouse, they can actually sue their spouse for damages, punitive damages.
So this process, is that something that is kind of required or suggested by the court process, that you have to follow a certain order, or is it really kind of handling the big things first?
Well, yes, a lot of times it's handling the big things first.
Okay.
Well, really, so you can't decide child support, for example, until you know which parent has the children how many nights during the year.
Okay.
Okay? And you can't do alimony, for example, until you know which spouse is getting what assets.
Right.
Because some assets may spin off income, other assets may have debts or liabilities that must be serviced. So you need to figure out who's getting what before you determine the alimony. Child support has to be determined after the alimony is determined under the child support guidelines. So there's a big reason for it, just that one has to come before the other. So that's how the courts decide them. A lot of times what we do when we're trying to get a case settled in a mediation conference, which is a formal settlement conference, is we try to figure out what it is that's important to each party.
I got
and
you.
see if we can't meet each party's goals and then work from there. So do some positive things, you know, not make them happy, but, you know, try to accomplish their goals and then go to other issues. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned mediation, and I think for a lot of people, they hear the word divorce, they think that it's going to be a process where each of the attorneys put together their stuff, they go to court, they make their case, and then the judge decides who gets what. But that's really a small percentage, right? Isn't a lot done in mediation?
if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say less than 1% of all cases go to trial.
Wow.
That is, are decided by the court. Most cases are settled. Sometimes they're settled just by way of just negotiations between the parties or the parties' attorneys. In Florida, before you can go to court, that is, before a judge will see you to decide your case at a final hearing, all cases are ordered to mediation. A mediation is not an arbitration. A mediation is a conference in which a mediator, a disinterested third person who's usually trained in family law, conducts the settlement conference and tries to help the parties get to yes. So the parties typically get in separate rooms, we call them caucuses, and the mediator does shuttle diplomacy, goes back and forth, and assists the parties in getting the case settled. It's a great venue to settle your case. You can talk as much as you want. You're not constrained by the rules of court, the rules of evidence, and it's just a great format to get a case settled.
And the whole point is to get it done in a way that it gets them out alive,
Sure.
get on with their lives, and to have the best outcome that, and I guess part of it I've heard from other attorneys as well as from you, Paul, is that it lets you have a lot more control, I guess, about what the outcome is.
Yes.
Because you're agreeing to it.
Yeah, so right. We try to explain to people, do you want to sign an agreement that's a blank piece of paper? Here, it says agreement on the top. You sign the bottom and let a stranger fill in the terms. That would be the judge.
Right.
Or would you like to participate in filling out the agreement and carefully crafting solutions for your family? Okay, and so that's why we do recommend you get into an early mediation and try to see if we have common ground and can resolve the issues. I've had so many people come to me who go, I don't want to go to mediation, it's going to be a waste of time. And then you know what happens? We get it settled.
And that's really...
Happens so many times. Yeah, they
That's
don't
the key.
realize that it's a great way to get it resolved, and they're much better off.
Well, and I already know the answer, and for our viewers, if you can settle it in mediation, the costs are going to be a lot less than going to full-on court, right?
Significantly less.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the cost then. So there's different pieces to the cost of getting divorced. You've got
Sure.
the legal fees, you've got experts and other people that need to get involved. Talk a little bit about the legal fees. What should people expect to pay to get divorced?
Okay. Well, first of all, usually if you contact a lawyer, you go for an initial consultation, which obviously you need to do that. You need to meet your lawyer to see if you connect with him or her, and you pay what's called a consultation fee. I tell most people, don't go to a lawyer that doesn't charge a consultation fee. Their time must not be very valuable, must not be much demand for that lawyer. But at any rate, so if you decide, you meet with the lawyer after the consultation, decide you want to hire him or her, then the lawyer will have a retainer agreement and will require a retainer. A retainer is a cost deposit that you give the lawyer, and the lawyer puts in his or her trust account and then works against that retainer at the lawyer's hourly rate. Then at some point that retainer may be exhausted and the lawyer will ask for a supplemental retainer. So you can expect to pay in our area in Florida anywhere from $3,500 up to $7,500 as a retainer to get the divorce started.
Okay. Might end up being a little bit more if it takes longer than expected?
Sure. The divorce could cost a couple $100,000 depending on how dysfunctional this marriage is. Expensive divorces result from either one of the two parties or both of the parties being dysfunctional or the marriage relationship being dysfunctional. And then, of course, are they affluent? Do they have the money to litigate? And
Do you find a correlation between the amount of money somebody has and how much it ends up costing or how long it ends up costing or taking to get divorced?
This is counterintuitive, but it's a reverse, it's just the opposite. So people with a lot of money fight a lot less. They don't care about, if you have a lot of money, you don't care about the big screen TV, okay? The less people have, the more they fight over every little thing. So there's an inverse relationship between the amount of money they have and the amount of fight they have in them.
It becomes really critical, that fighting about less money perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, it's just more, every little thing is more important.
Yeah. That brings up another sensitive topic, but I know this is something that you're very tuned into and you've dealt with firsthand, is the domestic violence part of this of the divorce. Frequent, not frequent, something people really need to be sensitive to? I mean, I could see it's a...
Yeah, it's real and it's there. I know when I first started out, I didn't really believe in domestic violence. I grew up in a household where my dad didn't beat my mom. There really wasn't a lot of arguing and fighting. And so I was sort of disbelieving some of the people who come in and said they'd been beat until a client came to me. And I was doing a little criminal work. This is like 25 years ago, and he was charged with hitting his wife. And he goes, well, she's never going to be able to prove it because I always hit her in the back of the head, so you can't see the bruising through her hair. No, it was like disgusting. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, it does happen. That sort of opened my eyes. But at any rate, so we do address it. And what happens in situations where there is domestic violence is you can seek an injunction for protection against domestic violence.
Okay. Keep away.
Keep away, and that's a separate action. People don't have to have money to get an injunction. You know, they waive the filing fees because it's important that we protect the victim of domestic violence. But it's real, it's out there. I feel like I've seen less and less of it through the years.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
Right.
You know, I don't know if it's if the complexion of my clientele has changed. Maybe
it could be society.
You know, as my practice matured, or society is a little more aware of it, and people are, you know, people realize that there are ramifications to committing those acts.
That's a good thing. How about some do's and don'ts? Do's and don'ts on divorce. What would you give a few cautions to people?
Yeah.
Maybe on some of the don'ts.
Yeah, the don't is don't clear out the bank accounts. Okay, just take half the money. All right, because number one, you're going to set the tone for the whole divorce case.
Okay.
Okay. The other don't is if you've separated, don't flaunt the new boyfriend or girlfriend.
Okay.
You know, some people are insecure, and they're separated, they're getting divorced, and they're insecure without having a mate on their arm. Don't do it. Okay. All it does
Be discreet.
You have to be discreet. It makes my problem, my job a lot harder.
Yeah.
Help me to help you, okay? Don't aggravate the situation. And the other thing is, don't introduce your children to each new boyfriend or girlfriend. You know, they're not going to be the new parent. So, you know, if you're dating after you separate and you have children, do it completely out of eyesight of the children. Don't try to, you know, have that new person be the best friend of your children.
Take some time. Take a step at a time. Don't be in a rush.
Yeah, because it's bad for kids to have a uncle of the month coming into their or aunt of the month into their family.
Awkward. One more thing. How about some strategic thoughts? Some strategic planning. If you think a divorce is coming, or you know, you see what's headed your way, or you just know it's not going to work, maybe a little bit of strategy.
Okay, now let's say you're 50 years old, you've been married 25 years, and either you know your spouse is going to file for divorce, or you know you are, or both of you have been unhappy, and it's about to happen as soon as little Johnny turns 18 and goes off to college. Well, first of all, you should, I call it sort of marshal your evidence. So go out and make copies of as many financial documents as you can, whether it be personal financial statements that your spouse files with the bank, tax returns, you know, retirement statements, bank account statements. Don't take them all and squirrel them away. Make copies of them. The other thing is, you know, do you want to look at, you know, making sure you've got some money set aside to litigate the case?
Okay.
You may want to close some credit cards.
Okay, so take some steps to prepare yourself that both getting records and getting finances together.
And educate yourself.
All right.
Educate yourself. Go on the internet. There's a lot of good material out there. Find out what you're up against before you pull the trigger, so to speak.
Very good. Well, very good overview, Paul. Glad to have you with us. Paul Rice, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have the opportunity to talk with you about it.
It's been my pleasure, Dave. Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks.
Okay, today's viewer question comes from Mary in Ormond Beach, Florida. Mary asks, I just inherited a large amount of money. I need to hire a financial advisor. What questions should I ask? To determine whether you can rely on a particular advisor to guide you on your finances, you have to go much deeper than general questions like, describe your approach to financial planning. In my opinion, you should ask and expect candid answers to much more robust and probing questions. Here are 50 questions I recommend you ask. That's right, I said 50. The crew doesn't think I can get to all of them, but I'm going to try. The questions fall in 8 major categories. Here are the personal background questions I'd ask. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? Where did you live? What do you do when you're not working? What are you passionate about? Are you involved with charities? Which ones and why? Describe your typical work week. What do you think about paying taxes? What do you think about the direction our country is headed in? Now for the financial background questions I think you should ask. When did you decide you wanted to be a financial advisor? Did you go to college? Where? What was your major? What type and how much ongoing education do you do? How long have you been in the financial business? How long have you been licensed? Which professional licenses do you hold? Which financial certifications and credentials do you hold? Do you have a resume or a professional summary? Can I see it? Questions about their business would include, describe your business to me. Are you self-employed? For how long? Are you an employee of a company? Are you a 1099 or W-2 employee? How long have you been with your current employer? Where have you worked before? Has your present firm ever been reprimanded by a regulator? Have they been fined? Same question for you. Have you ever been convicted of a crime or fined for a wrongdoing? Have you ever filed bankruptcy? If so, what happened? Do you own any other financial businesses? Do you own any other non-financial businesses? Questions about their autonomy would include, does anyone tell you which products and services you can offer? Does anyone tell you which companies you can recommend? Does anyone approve your recommendations? Who is your immediate supervisor? What are your favorite investment and insurance company vehicles? Do you have a process for selecting the right products and services from me and from which companies? Please describe it to me. Next are the questions about their stability and reliability. Where is your office? How long have you been there? How far do you live from your office? Where do you live? How long have you been there? Do you rent or own? Do you have errors and omissions, E&O liability insurance? If you die, what happens to your clients? What is your business succession plan? How long do you plan to work? What happens when you are ready to retire? What's the plan? Now about their clients. What is the total amount of assets you manage for all your clients? How many clients do you have? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the largest, where would my assets place me if I was one of your clients? In other words, am I typical or unusual? What products and services do your clients typically receive? Where do your clients come from? Next are the questions about their ongoing services. How do you provide ongoing services to me? Do you have a staff? Who does what? How often do you meet with your clients? How accessible are you for questions and consultation? Will you talk to my accountant or attorney? Next are the questions about their transparency. Will you put your recommendations to me in writing? Will you explain to me any assumptions you make in building a financial plan for me? Will you disclose in writing all fees and expenses for the products and services you recommend? Will you tell me exactly how you're paid and how much? Will you tell me when you have a potential conflict of interest? Are you under any pressure or are you offered any incentives to recommend a particular product or service to me? And the last, are you willing to adapt and rework your recommendations based on my feedback and personal preferences? If an advisor can't or won't answer questions like these, keep looking. There are plenty of advisors who will answer these questions. The takeaway from what I'm sharing with you, ladies and gentlemen, isn't necessarily that you have to ask every single one of these questions. The key thing is that when you're talking to an advisor and you're evaluating them on whether or not they're a right fit for you, remember this person is offering to take on what I think is a very significant and important responsibility. They're going to be accepting the responsibility to guide you on your financial future and help you retire and be comfortable. And if you are retired, stay retired and comfortable. So don't be timid. I think that's the key thing I want to share with you. Don't be timid. Ask robust questions. And if you don't feel like you're getting honest answers or straightforward answers, keep looking. There's plenty of other choices. And if you do that, you know what I'm going to say. you'll plan stronger. Thanks for being with me today.
If you would like more information about the topics and our guests featured in this series, please visit our website at PlanStrongerTV.com. Also, if you have a question you would like David to answer, please send it to questions@PlanStrongerTV.com.